Icon Comic Con presents Behind the Comic Book Podcast.
Hey everybody, it's Mr. 845 here, and we're interviewing an independent artist and comic book creator. So this segment here is a part of what we're going to be interviewing people for our Icon Comic Con to kind of help. Not only do we do independent artists on our Comic Con, but we also want to show the support for independent artists and comic book creators on my podcast. So at this segment, this is Corissa. Corissa, she owns Worthy Chaos Comics. Corissa, tell us, first and foremost, what's the name of the comic books?
So I have two different series. The one that's going to be live on Kickstarter in April is Worthy Chaos Devastation. It is a supernatural Western, and it contains cryptids, angels, demons, Bigfoot, Mothman, ones that people haven't heard of and ever, maybe Squonk and Chupacabra. And so it has, and they're trying to hunt them down for specific reasons, but they need to collect things from them without killing them. So it gives them a little bit of a challenge. Now only issue 2 will be out. I just started the series last August, so we just finished one. The Kickstarter in January, and then this one's going to be in April. I have another series and that series has 20 issues written so far.
Okay.
And then our other series is Worthy Chaos Redemption, and that has 125 issues so far written. And we are releasing issue 14 on June 11th. I have a Kickstarter pretty much every other month. I do about 6 to 8 a year. I started about 2.5 years ago. But the funny thing about the story is we're releasing issue 14, but my artist is actually working on issue 20. So we're actually like really far ahead. So when anyone wants to, people get nervous backing Kickstarters because they don't know if the story is going to be finished. This story is going to be finished. It's 23 issues. And then it does continue into another series called Conviction, which again is 25 issues already written. So everyone's going to get their story. I don't start a Kickstarter until they're actually done, the issue's done. So you only have to wait like a month for your stuff. So
Wow, that's awesome.
And that one's more of a horror action one. It's very, very fast paced. They're fighting zombies and giant.
Oh, gotta love a good zombie story.
Yeah, they're fighting zombies and anyone that likes Resident Evil. Issues 14 through 23 is pretty much Resident Evil. That's originally why I started writing.
To them. Yeah.
Yeah. Resident Evil 2 is the reason I started role-playing as Claire Redfield for 15 years. So
okay.
That if you like Resident Evil, you're gonna love it. If you like Silent Hill, that's the first 7 issues is really kind of like Silent Hill.
Okay.
and yeah.
So we got a hybrid on our hand, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah. So now I'm new to the independent creator side, right? So take me through kind of like if people want to get in touch with you with an idea, if you wanted to come up with an idea and you wanted to start up these Kickstarters, take us through the kind of like the path of kind of like how you would go through that type of stuff.
So anyone could find me on Facebook, Corissa Grant. You can also find me, the easiest way to find me is to search Worthy Chaos pretty much anywhere, Google, Kickstarter. Now, the thing about our series is, unlike regular indie creators, and I love them all, don't get me wrong, I'm an idiot and I go into debt with my comics. So
Okay.
we're always on Kickstarter. Like I'm
Okay.
the only idiot that does this like nonstop. So if you search Worthy Chaos and Kickstarter, you will always find at least 1 or 2 in pre-launch, and sometimes you'll find 1 live. So there's always 2 there, either 2 in pre-launch or 1 in pre-launch and 1 live. It's always there. So that's the easiest way. And you can contact me through Facebook. My Facebook contact's there. But you could search Corissa Grant. There's not many out there that I know of. I am on Twitter, but I'm going to be honest, like I have like 5,000 followers on there, but the algorithm is so bad on there and I didn't cultivate it the way I should have. So Facebook is the best place. I have 5,000, I think it's 5.3 followers on there almost. And I talk to everyone. I'm the type of kid that would have got kidnapped by a white van. Like I talk to anybody, anytime, so if anyone has any questions or
no stranger danger at all.
Yeah, no stranger danger at all. And I'm from New York, so I had stranger danger. I just didn't care. And yeah, if anyone, I help a lot of, I'm the unofficial PR for new people because I only started 2.5 years ago and everyone helped me. Like
Yeah.
the indie community is so amazing. Like my in-laws used to be like, "Don't you have so much competition?" I was like, "They're really not. They're either my supporters or my backers. Like other creators are my bread and butter, and we back each other, we support each other, we share each other. So it's really a tight community." And I really tried to explain this to a new person yesterday. Their Kickstarter wasn't doing very well. They had tried twice and they only got $900. And I said, "Listen, I can help you. Like I've been doing this and I went through the hard part. I lost 5,000 on my first issue and redid it. Like I know the ins and outs of
Yeah.
pretty much what I'm doing." And I told him how to build a community by adding people that are creators and artists and comic book lovers, and he just did not care. Like he's like, "Whatever, I'll do it on my own." I was like, "Okay, I've done 17 Kickstarters. I kind of know a
Okay,
little
Miles
bit."
Morales, calm down. You don't have to do your own thing.
Yeah, I'm like, "Listen, this is not a hard algorithm.
Yeah.
I told him, I was like, "You have to add all these people and you have to talk to them. The more people you talk to, the more people you interact with, the more you'll show up in their feed and the more they'll show up in your feed."
Yeah.
And trust me, my first Kickstarter did 8.99. My second Kickstarter, like 2 months later, did 2,900. So I kind of learn as I go. My highest yet is almost 14,000. That is not my average. I wish that was my average.
Yeah.
My average is between 3 and 4,000, which I'm happy with. It pays for the artist, um, and it keeps me going without losing my house yet. Anyway,
Yeah. But
someday
like,
maybe.
so like, let's kind of go into why you started this, right? So what inspired you to create these comic books?
So this was completely unintentional. Completely unintentional. I started role playing online, and I had a story to tell, and I had saved this story in my mind for approximately 15 years or so. And I was trying to find somebody to take the role of Draven. He's the second main character and the love interest of my character. And I could not, I met many amazing writers over the years, and I just could not find that one person. And then I met my co-writer, Jess. And Jess is a phenomenal writer, phenomenal writer. And the second I read one reply, I was like, "You have to take this role. I never ask people to take this roles. You have to take it." So it was for no other reason than to write the story. Like I was obsessed with my own story. So we started writing, and in 4 years, we passed the 1 million word mark years ago. But we've written 150 issues total, which we write it in novel form, 16 novels. When we finished the first series, it was about 5 novels. Um, I was like, "What a waste of such a good story. Like, I can't do anything with this."
Mhm.
And I can't release it as novels because this is going to sound really bad on me. I'm a horrible writer, but I'm an amazing storyteller. Like, I can tell a story like you would not believe, but I don't do all the pretty show don't tell things.
Mhm.
My co-writer does, definitely. I do not. Uh, so I knew it couldn't be a novel, and I was like, "Well, what am I supposed to? What a waste. I have no talents. This is a talent I find and I can't do anything with it." And then I was saying, "All right, you know what? I'll just print it for us as a novel for us. Like I read them all the time. I love
Mhm.
them." So I try to find an artist to do a cover for it. And when we originally wrote them, we had actors in mind. That's usually how you role play. You get actors to be the profile picture. So all of them were kind of cartoony artists. Then I had
Mhm.
asked my co-writer, I was like, "Do you want realistic like we had, or do you want me to just do cartoony?" And my card is like, "You could do cartoony." And like a light bulb went off. And I was like, "Well, if you don't mind cartoony, we could do a comic book." And I said the infamous words that sticks to me and my creditor debt every day is, "How hard can it be?" It is the hardest thing I've ever done. I have an incredibly supportive husband, thankfully. But my first issue, I did everything wrong. I spent $5,000 and the artist abandoned me and I had to fix it with other artists and then I just wound up throwing it away and starting with a new artist. And that one artist has stuck with me between issue 1 and now 20. Um
Are
and
you able to
he
name the artist just to give them credit or?
Jonas DaCosta. You can find him also on Facebook.
All right, cool.
He works for a couple of other companies too, and fortunately still fits me in. Um, but he's super fast, super talented. He had never worked in comics before, and when I first found him on Facebook, this is gonna sound awful. I hated his style. very, very, very realistic. And I was like, the reason I wanted a comic book was to not be realistic.
Hmm.
And my dream is to have eventually someday an animated series, R for violence, of course. And he's like, I'll do a free page for you. And I was like, fine, whatever. So I did a free page, and I had been searching for an artist for 6 months to see the characters that we saw in our head.
Hmm.
Page was perfect. It was so perfect. I'm like, you're hired. So yeah, we've been together this whole time. This is our third year. And we just love working with each other. And yeah. So the sec he does redemption. Let me clarify. He does all of redemption. My artist for Western is Matt, and he's absolutely amazing too. He does everything traditional. They are completely two different artists
Yeah,
in two
just so
different
we
ways.
have the full name, Matt.
I can't say his last name.
Oh.
I'm
Okay.
dyslexic and I can't say it, but you could put it on the screen later or something.
Okay,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
know.
Make sure that we get all the links and
Yeah,
everything that you have, so that way I can post it on the posts later on.
yeah.
So you kind of went into what created the story, but I don't know if you want to flesh that out a little bit. So you had an image in your head, you
Yep.
wanted to write it down. So this is also for like kids who are aspiring to eventually want to do their own thing.
Yeah.
Take me through the process of kind of like coming up with that story in your mind, to getting to pen to paper and then eventually getting the artist enlisted. Take me
Um,
through that kind of process.
I have no idea where my stories come from. I got inspired by Resident Evil 2. After I watched that, I role played as Claire Redfield, and I wrote as her as a role player. So my character has a lot of Claire Redfield in there. Not as bitchy. I love her, but she's a little she's a little on the mean side. But I got a lot of my ideas from watching Supernatural. So it's kind of a
Good show.
combination
Good
of
show.
yeah, the car is in issues 4 through 7. So if you ever want to read the comic, the Impala is there. I love the Impala. But watching that show merged in with the supernatural hunter of Claire who hunted, zombies, it kind of merged into this whole thing. And then angels and demons came into it the more I watched Supernatural, and it started to merge into this entire story. So she's a descendant of angels, but she was created from an angelic weapon because angels can't have kids. So
Hmm.
she was created from the father and the mother, which is a goddess, and they created this person. The only problem is that the weapon was um, born inside her after that. It was like dissolved, and other demons wanted this weapon, so they kept trying to kill her to get it, and she kept reincarnating as a baby
Hmm.
and whatever. So this demon created Draven. So Draven is a demon descendant, and they instantly fell in love with each other. And there was a prophecy that said if a demon and an angel ever fell in love, that they could never be separated, or there will be hell on earth. Um, but they faked the prophecy, and now everyone's trying to separate them, thinking that's what's supposed to happen. So pretty much it's a survival horror for them. They're just fighting everything that comes at them, angels, demons, monsters, whatever. Now the Western's more tame, I would say. It's not as I mean, in the page 2 of Redemption, like the parents are ripped apart and like stapled to the wall. So
Ooh.
it's a little more horror-esque to
Yeah.
it.
So more gory and less action.
Yeah. Redemption's more action and more gore, and Western's more adventure, more supernatural, like
Uh,
with cryptids like the Wendigo and everything, and they
yeah.
have to deal with all these creatures. Same characters, but different timelines. So the Western's in 1880 and the Redemption's modern. So when I write this story, I literally have no idea what I'm going to write. I sit down and I write it. And how the writing process goes for us as co-writers, I write it, and then I write it in Seraphina's point of view, my
Hmm.
main character. Then my co-writer goes and writes it in Draven's point of view, and then I combine them. So all the speech and all of the thoughts of Draven, my co-writer wrote. So when you're reading these two characters, they have two completely different personalities because they have two completely different writers.
Yeah.
So, and that's
That's
all
pretty
from role
cool.
playing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
For anyone that doesn't role play, it's not like Dungeons and Dragons role play. It's written. So I write a chapter and then they write the chapter in their point of view.
Hmm.
So I kind of lead the story, but we always talk about ideas and flesh out what's going to happen. But half the time, I don't know what's going to happen.
So you basically write the initial, you send it to your other writer, and they look at your notes, and then they write it in their own person, like their own character's point of view.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
when my character's doing whatever, I have no idea. Like she will talk to Draven and I won't get a response. Though after 4 years, I kind of know what he's gonna say. But I don't know specifically his thoughts or whatever. So then when my co-writer writes back, then I get all that information of what he was doing, who is he, what was his thoughts when he was doing, what was he replying to her and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, so it fills in all the blanks. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a pre-write, right? And then that person fills in the blanks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah. It's kind of like a Mad Lib.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
So
it was such an addiction. If anyone hasn't, the reason why I started role playing in the first place was I'm dyslexic and I literally was a horrible, like I could not function at all letters or whatever. But I started as a one-liner, and over 2 years I went to a para, which is like I don't know 150 words. Then I went to multi-para, which is like 500 words, and I never thought I would get to novelaire, which is 1,000 words. Now I sit down and I can write 3 to 6,000 words in one sitting without even thinking.
wow, you
So
must
I've
have
gotten
a
a little better.
muse.
Yeah. Yeah, I've gotten a little better over time. But yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
No,
There's a lot of
and
stories in my
so
head.
now, are you aspiring to eventually expand beyond these two issues, or is it right now these are your two main focuses?
You mean series?
Yeah, yeah, correct.
Yeah, these are my two main focus right now. Because redemption continues on. Like if I had my choice and I had the money to do it and I had the readers to do it, redemption would be 4 series of well, 3 main series of 25 issues each, because Redemption has a soft ending, which is fine. It's great, but okay, it's not great. It's a fine ending, but it's supposed to continue into Conviction. That has an awesome ending, and I love that ending. And if I have the money, I would go into Resurrection, which has an even bigger ending. After that, it continues for like 25 more issues, but I probably won't go into that unless it's like really popular. I love the story, but I don't have an ending yet for it written
Hmm.
out.
Hmm.
So right now, what happened was is we were working on it and we got really obsessed with the Western. Now, the thing about the Western was we always had the ending. We didn't even have a series. We just, at the end of their life in the Western, we knew how it was going to end because what happens there is so chaotic. That's why Redemption's insane.
Hmm.
So they're connected at the end. But we never thought to do a Western. We just thought, yeah, this is how it ends. This life ends, blah, blah, blah. But we just wanted to see them in cowboy outfits. I mean, it was just like,
Yeah.
we had no idea for it whatsoever. But the second I started writing it, I was like, I know what they're gonna do. They're gonna have, they have to hunt down Bigfoot and Wendigo and Mothman and all this stuff, and it's just such a cool concept. And I got so obsessed with it that we already have 20 issues written in like I don't know, not even I don't even know. I think it's been a year. So
Yeah. So I know that you said that you had an artist, and he's been, with you for. Is this something where you kind of give them like an art panel, like an art board, kind of like preliminary, like scribbles, like even like circles and little arms and stuff like that, like, and then they
no,
kind of fill in everything and they draw the whole page for you?
I give them just a bare bones script,
Okay.
and I my Western artist sticks to the script almost to the T. My redemption artist, we fought during the first issue we worked with, like fought because I had a vision and he had a vision, and I'm like, you're not following my script. Like, why aren't you like I don't know what I'm
Hmm.
doing, and he doesn't know what
Hmm.
he's doing.
Hmm.
But he was so good at panels and showing action through panels that I was like, after fighting for like the whole issue, I was like, all right, let's compromise. I'll go from 7 panels, which is the normal, to 4 to 5 panels, and then you add panels you want. And
Hmm.
that's how his grew. So my panels for Redemption go from 4 to 9. Like he'll just do whatever he wants, and it
Hmm.
looks amazing. They're both completely different styles. You can see how fast paced he is for Redemption. He's a digital artist and it fits. And then you have the Western artist who's traditional, slower, and it's a nicer pace with more details, and you're in those details more. So it's kind of fun to see the two different versions of the characters. that I've grown to love, obviously. Um, but yeah, I give him bare bones. This is what I need in it. If you need to add more, add more.
Cool.
But I've
Now,
learned over the time that that dialogue takes up a lot of room.
yeah, yeah. So like, I know that the comic book, like, for me, this is new, right? So like, I'm more of a like the mainstream reader. I had a stuttering problem when I was younger, so in order to learn how to read appropriately, I had to read comic books, and that's kind of like why I got into comic books in the first place because it helped me
Nice.
learn to read, right? So,
Yeah.
uh,
Oh
so
yeah.
I tell everybody that story because it's important to know that even like though they're not full length pages where they have like the novel style, I have ADHD, so reading in that traditional style is very hard for me because I usually fall asleep. It's so boring.
Yeah.
I can't like I have a great imagination, but it's just like I can't imagine the stuff. So having the art on the panel helps out so much. When it comes to a lot of this stuff, I know like going out on your own is a lot different than some of the mainstream writers and artists on like Marvel, DC, and like all these other larger independent comic book companies. So for you, how do you get your name out there or get people to kind of like notice your series outside of the fundraising?
The only way I've ever been able to successfully do it is through the podcast. If it wasn't for you guys, I would not be known or have any money and probably be living in a cardboard box because I have done over, well, in 3 years, I've probably done over 270 podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that is the only way anyone's ever noticed me because my first Kickstarter, I hadn't done that. It was really my friends and family supporting me to get me to shut up. They just helped as much as they could. Um, but podcasts and interacting on Facebook, talking to people, backing other Kickstarters, talking to other indie creators, and sending out my story a lot for free. Like I send out the first two issues for anyone that wants to read them because I mean we're already up to 14, so you're either gonna read it and like it or not. And you
Mm-hmm.
weren't, so I don't lose anything by doing. I had somebody yell at me the other day, so you're not supposed to get free comics. I was like, it's two issues. You either were never going to read it and I wasn't going to get you backing it anyway, or you're going to read the two and love it, and then you'll want to get the rest.
Mm-hmm.
So I have nothing to lose by giving out issues. Um, but that's it. And I have a small following, but a very loyal following. I have some people telling me they when they read something, they're like, "Tell me it'll be okay," because I torture my poor characters.
Mm-hmm.
I always end on a horrible cliffhanger that everyone hates. Um, but I mean, the next Kickstarter is, 30 days away. You'll be fine. You'll be able to do that. Um, but yeah, I people fall in love with the characters,
Yeah.
and I don't advertise it as a love story because it's not your typical romance mushy, there's true love involved, but they don't have time for it. They're running and fighting and, all that stuff. But the core of it is a love story. I mean, they do these things because they love each other so much. So a big thing about the story is what's the limit you would go for the one that you like cherish the most? Like what's
Mm-hmm.
your limit? And these characters have no limit. They will do anything to save the other person. The only problem is that they each try to save each other and it just screws them both over because they're just all they do is try to save each other back and forth, and it causes them to get in more trouble. Um, but yeah, at its core, it's a love horror adventure action, comic.
Yeah.
So
No, I mean that's pretty cool, and just getting the inspiration to kind of even go to this point where you're actually writing and producing your own works are crazy. So I just want to make sure we have clarity. This is a paper, a picture to page type of comic book, not a digital comic book, correct? Or you have
I
both?
do both.
Okay.
You like if you go want to back it as I've had a lot of people back the PDF like $5 you get the first two issues, um and they like it and then they wind up buying the whole series the next Kickstarter.
Hmm.
But I have hardcovers too. Like these are the easiest way, the cheapest way to get physical, because they're this one's seven, the first seven, and this one is 8 through 12. So it has, I sell them really cheap because I take a huge risk. I buy 500 at a time, so I sell these 200 pages for 25 bucks. Um, and that's very unheard of in indie. They usually sell for like 50, but I just want people to read the story. I want them to get addicted like I am. Um, and it's really funny because I never advertised it as a romance because guys mostly read the horrors, I'm not gonna lie.
Hmm.
And it wasn't until one guy wrote me, he goes, "When do they freaking kiss already?" And I was like, I didn't think you guys really cared about that stuff,
Yeah.
but not till issue 5. You've got some time. Um, but I never advertise it like that, for that very reason. But it's just funny that people get so connected and bond with these characters that they want them to get together. They want them to succeed.
Yeah. I mean,
And
how not to cut you off, but how when you actually meet those fans, right?
yeah,
And they're so immersed in the story. How does that make you feel to have them embrace your work like that?
you have no idea the rush. Okay. When I pack these things, so my last Kickstarter again was an anomaly. It was issue 1 and I sold 330 backers. I had 330 backers. When I'm packing this stuff, I'm like, I cannot believe that people spent money on this, let alone read it. Like I
Mhm.
cannot believe that I have these people come back. I mean, some of them, I'm considered the queen of merch. I get called the queen of merch. If you want merch, I've got it all, right? Plushies, statues, name it, Legos. People spend, some of them spend like $100 to $200 every campaign just to get the stuff, and it blows my mind that anyone reads it and likes it, and
Mhm.
because I'm obsessed with it, but I'm kind of biased,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
obviously I love it. So it is the most humbling and amazing feeling just to know that people read it and look forward for the next Kickstarter. I mean, I had somebody message me after my first Kickstarter and they said, "I read it 7 times. When is the next one?" They want more, and it's such that is, I don't do this for the money, and you could tell because I don't make any money, but I do it because I want to see it done. These are for me, and the fact that other people read it and love it is just the most amazing bonus you
Yeah.
can ever. It's a very huge high to have it. Like I just can't believe it because from coming from a dyslexic background, like I never thought anyone would read it and care about it. And you're generally only reading my dialogue pretty much, right? Because you're not reading the direct scripts. But I get a lot of praise from our dialogue. And the reason why we don't edit them, we don't let editors edit them. Our
Hmm.
voice is our character's voice. They always have the commas. They're allowed to edit commas and spelling. They're not allowed to edit the way they speak. And editors hate it. They want to change, they want it to be proper. I'm like, nobody speaks like that.
Yeah.
Nobody talks like that.
Yeah.
I don't talk proper at all. Half the things I say are wrong, you
Yeah.
know?
Then you have an
So
English accent at that point. Listen,
yeah,
governor.
I just had another, like, I have like 4 editors because as a dyslexic, everything looks wrong. But my editor, a new editor, was like, "Oh, this person sounds stupid when they talk like this." It's like Draven's not the most educated. I mean, he's an assassin. He's not
Yeah.
educated. This is how he talks. I said, "You're not allowed to change anything they say. There's 3 things you're allowed to do. You can separate sentences because I am a run-on sentence person. Like it's awful. You're allowed to check spelling and you're allowed to add commas because commas are my worst enemy. They whatever comma I thought of is supposed to be opposite. Like I always, yeah, I'm awful.
Don't
Um
worry, you're not the only one.
so that is the
That's what
main thing.
AI is for. They
Yeah,
throw the
right?
commas in for me, and I'm like, oh, that's where that's supposed to go.
Oh my God, it's awful. It's awful. So they're like, "Oh, okay, this will make it easier." I'm like, "Yeah, don't worry about how they speak. It doesn't matter." Um, and a lot of people might not like that, and other people love it. It's very real dialogue. Um, And there's something that we do that a lot of comic books don't do anymore. We have thought balloons, lots of thought balloons. And I thought people were going to hate this because I read comics in the 90s and thought balloons generally back then were exposition. They're explaining something. But because we wrote these as novels, there's so much thinking they do, that it has to be added. It's part of their character. You kind of go through what they're going through. Draven doesn't feel like he should be with her because she's an angel and he's not worthy of her. And
Hmm.
she doesn't think that she should be with him because she causes all of this. She's the reason all of this chaos is happening. She's the worthy chaos. She's the reason why he thinks it's worth going through. So they always have this doubt, and you would never get that if if you didn't get to see their thoughts or whatever. So it's kind of like it's a comic book, but it's got novel-esque to it. So you're reading a novel and you get to see the pretty pictures as you go.
Yeah,
Which is how I wanted it. And that's why this series is so long because I didn't want to leave anything out, you know.
yeah. I mean, the books that you showed are hard. They're hardbacks, right?
Hardcovers, yep.
Hardcovers.
Yeah. I love hardcovers, man.
Yeah. So
They're
so
so final.
so yeah, but with hardcovers though, I mean, you have stability in that book that you. I mean, they're pretty hefty. I mean, it's not like
Yeah.
a traditional size comic book, so you
Oh
have
no.
a lot of content in there.
Oh yeah. That's the thing that I guess when usually there's a hard or graphic novel, they're smaller. But
Mhm.
mine's the exact size as a comic book. Let me tell you something, these things weigh a ton. Like when I go to cons, I bring them to switch with people, like and to trade off. And I can carry like 10 in my backpack before I think I'm gonna die. They come in like 19 huge boxes when they arrive at my house. My poor husband, has to get a dolly to bring them all in, and then I have to find a place to put them all.
Yeah.
Um, Buying 500 is very, very difficult, but it's the best way to make it affordable for people, you
Hmm.
know. I mean, it's very hard to catch up on a series that in 2.5 years is up to issue 14. You know,
Yeah.
that's very unheard of. Most indie people do 2 to 4 tops a year, and I do like 6 to 8.
Oh wow. Yeah, you're
So I
really
do a
plugging
little bit
away.
more. Yeah.
No,
Well,
and
because
you
it's
go.
so long. If I didn't do it fast, I'd be like 100 before they all came out. So,
Yeah. So you were just saying that you go to cons. So like, where's the next time that people will be able to see you and be able to pick up a comic book?
so the best place to find me every single year is Nashville Comic Con. It's at the fairgrounds. It's always in June. This year, it's the weekend of June 7th and 8th, Saturday and Sunday. I have people, and again, this is another add to the rush. You know, I don't have much of an ego, so it helps. You know, every little thing helps. People find me every year and say, "What's new? What do you have?
Hmm.
What do you got?" And obviously, I always have something new because, I'm a freak of nature. But Nashville, you'll always find me at. In Knoxville, I'm usually at CreepyCon. It's a very large horror con. I believe it's in August. Um, and then I do a lot of local ones. So generally, I stick around Knoxville and Nashville a lot. The only ones I'm going outside the box this year because of all the cryptids, and this is new. I'm doing a lot of cryptid cons. I'm doing a Bigfoot conference in Gatlinburg. I'm doing the large that I've never been before, Lexington Cryptid Con. So in November, you guys could see me at the Cryptid Convention, which I didn't know was a thing until I started the Westin. Um, so I'm excited for that because, like I said, I have so much merch. I mean, I have like, I don't know, 50 something plushies. This is our Wendigo. I
Okay.
mean, I have so much. You should see my freaking
What about a
Bigfoot. It's
chupacabra? Do you have one of those?
He's being made as we
Oh.
speak. But let me show you my Bigfoot here because he is 3 feet tall and he reminds me of Alf, if you've ever seen Alf, because
Oh
I'm
yeah,
old.
yeah, yeah.
So this is the Bigfoot.
Oh nice.
And I'm so glad the person that bought him was a local because I did not want to ship him. He weighs a ton. But yeah, I absolutely love it. And if anyone knows, and we do the statues too. Like these are our statues, 3D. I just bought a 3D printer, so I'm gonna learn how to print these because it costs a fortune. I have like 30 something cryptids for this series.
Hmm.
So we have so you watch Supernatural, right?
Yes, yes, I have.
So
Yeah.
we have a Supernatural journal.
Up to season 10.
Yeah,
After season 10, I was like, I don't
that's
know.
fair. That's
Yeah.
fair. So we have for the Western, we have a journal that you
Oh
can collect
nice.
because she writes in her journal as she goes. And every single Kickstarter, we do journal pages of whatever cryptid was seen in
Hmm.
that or they interacted with. And you get those free if you buy the journal. So
Oh wow.
everyone, I think the next one has literally like 5 free pages. So if you had bought one, or you could buy one every one, obviously, but then you just have to catch up on pages. But yeah, I have the Wendigo. This is Bastet from I don't know if you know Anubis. This is the cat.
Anubis from Europe, from Egypt.
Egypt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
So this is Bastet. She's the cat goddess of Egyptian. She's in Redemption. Um and then there's Bigfoot. So you can follow along in the journal with her, which is makes it interactive and it's kind of fun and you can look forward to the pages. And I did not expect to sell so many so far. My issue one, I sold like 30. So
Yeah.
so I did not expect them to sell that way.
I'm sure it kind of reminds people of the cryptid version of Pokemon, right? So
Yeah.
like,
Oh
gotta
yeah,
catch
gotta
them
collect them
all,
all.
gotta
Yeah.
collect them all, right? So
Oh,
it
definitely.
gives you kind of a little additional adventure, if you will, to
Yeah.
not only get the comic book, but then you could follow along and then add the pages to your journal and say, yeah, we just found the Wendigo. You got to put them in. Stuff like that. So it's pretty cool.
Definitely.
You get a little bit more interaction with it. Now, I know that the comic book itself is not necessarily what you would say kid friendly, but like you would say like more like teenage and up.
I would say though, so I get this asked this question a lot at cons. They always come up to me and say, "What's the age limit for this?" And I always say the Western's fine. It's got mild cursing in it. If you don't mind the F word, you're fine. Redemption, they curse all the time. I don't know why it's different. They just curse all the time, and it's gory. And they always say, "Oh, that's fine, but there's no nudity." There is no nudity in it.
Hmm.
I recommend teenagers, but these people are giving it to like their 8-year-olds because like, oh, he reads horror all the time. And I was like, all right, all they care about is no nudity. I don't know why. I think that's more natural than the cursing and the gore, but whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
So I
there's
would
not
say,
many times you get to see somebody get ripped apart,
yeah,
but
yeah. And I tell them, and I always say, look at it before you give it to your kid. I would not give it to my kid. I don't have kids, but if I did, I wouldn't give it to them. But parents so far, I think I've been asked 10 times, and they always say, oh no, it's fine as long as there's no nudity. So for redemption, it's gore and cursing, and the Western's more mild. So there's really no gore. Well, okay, issue two, she does stab out some guy's eye, and it's a close-up, but there's some gore. It's not as bad as, pinning the dad to the wall and like eviscerating him and, things like that.
yeah.
Um,
And so speaking of the gore and kind of the role playing, if you will, have you ever had a chance to see your characters in cosplay? Somebody actually coming to the convention dressed up as your character yet?
Not yet, not yet. I've had people ask. So it hasn't happened yet, but I think that it's very easy to cosplay them. So hopefully someone will. I wanted to cosplay as Claire, but the outfit I got was not the way it looked online. So I kind of got a little scammed there. I paid $80 for it and it did not look right, but I'll probably just buy a leather jacket. Leon?
Hmm.
Do you know? Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I spent $100 on this Leon jacket, but it
Raccoon
weighs,
City Police Department.
yeah. It weighs a ton. So I have the Resident Evil 4 jacket, and it's leather and it weighs like 100 pounds. So neither I or my husband will ever wear it. But I have
Yeah,
it. It's got the sheepskin, it's perfect. Well
yeah.
actually, since you know Leon on a side
I've
note,
cosplayed only as two different characters, but one of them is Deathstroke. So
nice.
yeah.
I am an anime girl, so I have only cosplayed as, I don't know if you know, Deetlit from Lotus War. It's a Dungeons and Dragons type anime, definitely worth watching. She's an elf.
Okay.
And Kagome from Inuyasha when I went to anime
Okay.
cons. But those are the two that I cosplayed at. This is my handmade Leon doll that is amazing. But the funny story about this, he's got a gun and everything. He looks so cool. I bought this from a Japanese woman in Japan that this is the 90s. Okay, you gotta realize this is the 90s. There's no Google, there's no translator. I showed her a picture of Leon and my credit card, and and amazingly it showed up at my door.
And
So
you didn't
we
get
had no
scammed.
idea. Yeah, I did not get scammed, and which is good because it was like $400 and I was like a teenager, so I was just like, okay, let's see if this works. And but she only makes one. If I don't know if I could ever find her site, I would love to find it. But she only makes one of everything. So she had like Link on there and she had all these cool things, and I was like, I need a Leon.
It
But
was a
that
very white van moment, by the way, just so
oh,
you
it
know.
was. Oh, it totally was. Like this person has my credit card. They live in Japan. They can do whatever they want with this credit card.
Yeah.
But he showed up at the door. So I've had him for like 20 years now.
Wow, that's
More.
awesome.
I'm
So it's a
old.
one-on-one too, right?
One of one? Yeah,
Yeah.
he's the only one.
So before I leave you, I want to make sure that people could kind of hear a couple other things. So with your comic books being hardcover, but also irregular sized, are you able to send them to CGC or PSA or any of the other grading services at all?
Oh, so I also released the issues first.
Okay.
So they're released as singles first, and then they could buy the hardcover.
Okay, cool.
So I have my issue one forever sealed in this thing. So 9.8 for mine.
Nice. Yeah.
See, this is CGC. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you can get them CGC'd.
The
The
singles you can.
Yeah, the singles. Now with the artists themselves, are they ever available with you to get like signings done?
Unfortunately, one's in Brazil and one's in the UK. However, we are trying to plan a trip so that he can go to a con with me, or I can go there because tax deductible trip to London might be nice.
Yeah.
But but he did literally just start doing traditional that because he's been digital this whole time, but
Hmm.
he finally got the setup to do traditional. Like when I say just, I'm like in this month. Like,
Oh, okay.
so I'm excited that I'm finally gonna get original art from my artist. So I'm looking forward to that. So we might be offering original art for Redemption, and we can offer it for the Western. He's just in Brazil, so it's a little bit harder. I'm panicking because he's about to send me issue one to traditional art. I'm like, if it gets lost, I lose my entire issue one pages. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Um, but so you can't get a signature yet, but you can get a signature from me and my co-writer as of now, and we're going to work on getting them from the artist.
All right,
So that
cool.
we can get, yeah,
Yeah,
at
no,
least the hardcovers.
I mean, it's great to kind of get to more to know, like, kind of like what you've been up to, and meet you for the first time and stuff like that. This is something that like I said, I'm trying to do for my Comic Con, to go outside the box, right? Because everybody kind of says just go to the Comic Con and meet all these different creators and stuff like that. But I want to do something a little different where I'm paying it forward, giving creators a chance to kind of tell people who they are and what they do, to kind of culminate my Comic Con, to be a part of the Independent Artist and Comic Book Convention.
Yeah.
Your
Hopefully I
independent
can go
comic
to your
book.
con someday.
Yeah,
I was born in Long Island, so I love going anywhere in New York.
yeah.
Um,
We're November 1st, so it's the day
nice.
after Halloween. But we'll
Nice.
talk after this. But so for the most part, we kind of went through a lot of things. For somebody that's aspiring to become a comic book creator, is there any advice, that like one liner that you would want to leave them with, to kind of inspire them for the future?
I have two things to say. I don't know how to do one-liners. I talk too much in case you couldn't figure it out. But number one, only do it if you want to see it done. Like, think about the fact that I got yelled at that I have issue 20 getting made. Like, what if they don't sell? I was like, I don't care. I want it. This is for me. So
Mhm.
if you're making it for you and then you're going to try to sell it, do it. That's how you do it. The other thing is, and this is a really good tip that I wish someone told me, when you're searching for artists, have them do a page from your script. Don't do character design. Don't, I spent thousands getting character designs. It doesn't matter if they can't put it into a page. So they have to design the character they put in the page. So when you go to look for an artist, tell them you want them to draw this page from your script and to have your characters look like this. And then go from there. And that was the best. I mean, literally after I started that, I found someone like right away. Of course.
Yeah. Oh,
But yeah,
awesome.
find an
Yeah.
artist that you could trust and loves the story too. Because let me tell you something, artists are a loyal artist that sticks around and loves your story is like gold.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah, I know a lot of local artists. So we have a couple that usually patron our show.
Nice.
So if you're ever around the area, you could come and stop by. There's at least
Yeah.
five of them that are hanging out with us around
Let me
this
tell you,
time.
I buy like I think I've bought like 200 covers already. So like I'm always looking for a cover artist and all that stuff. I get so addicted to variant covers. Like I
Oh,
just
that I
love.
was just about to ask that. So do
Yeah.
you have any variant covers of your books?
I do. I do.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and a lot of them are actually Marvel DC artists. I have a lot of independents too, but like this one for issue two is Ivan Tal, which you
Oh
might not
wow.
recognize the name, but if you Google it,
I
he's
I follow him on Facebook.
there you go. He did the covers. He also did a cover for Redemption issue 10. That's going to be available too. But if you look at issue one, I can't even, do I even have that? Probably not. It's that cover, she looked so gorgeous. And it's Derek Chu. And if you don't follow him, you should follow him. He's the reason why I sold 330 books. Um, just the cover was phenomenal. Search Derek Chu. He's a Marvel DC artist. He's doing my issue three because just obsessed the way he draws her. Um, and yeah, go look. And if you search Kickstarter for Worthy Chaos, look at the Western issue one. She looks phenomenal. she's just gorgeous. But yeah, he does Marvel DC covers and everything, and he's just
Nice.
phenomenal. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
not
that's
cheap,
cool.
but it's worth it.
Oh yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
I always have
I like adding new artists to the mix, so that way I can
oh,
kind of see what's
he's
out there.
and you know what? He's so humble. He's like the most humble guy I've ever talked to. He does not realize how amazing he is. And I like that because I'm not used to that, you know.
Yeah, I'm looking at his storm right now. It's pretty awesome. Just saying.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, but I mean, this is great. You know, it's a way to kind of highlight an independent comic book creator. It's a way to that I can kind of get you out there and really kind of immerse myself more into the comic book world. I mean, like my favorite character is Captain America. I actually have his shield tattooed to my arm
Nice.
in Maori style. I didn't want it traditional, but you know, I like the image of the fighting Nazis and
Uh,
kicking their ass. So
I'm terrified to get a tattoo, but my goal one day is to get a tattoo of my logo because I
okay.
love my logo. And the rule is if I ever get 500 backers, that I have to get the tattoo. Like that's one of the stretch
Ooh,
goals.
challenge
So
accepted.
I know. I was like, and I was like, damn, I'm gonna live stream it and I'm gonna be screaming because I'm terrified of needles. But yeah, that's the thing. And I got to 330 and I was like, oh man, I a little scared, but okay.
Don't worry,
So
I have several tattoos, so
nice.
they're fine. Trust me. Um, but you know, I again thank you very much, Carissa, for allowing me to interview you. This is a part of a series that I kind of do not only for the Comic Con, but yeah, as Mr. 845 Social, I interview a lot of small business owners, which I mean, comic book creators are. And I really do appreciate to show the the independence and the fact that the hustle, if you will, of getting your own comic book started up and running and get going, right? And to even come up with a storyline. So if more and more people want to see your Kickstarters and stuff like that, just before we end this, make sure that you send me your links so I can add it to the posts. And that being said, we'll check hopefully we'll check you out at one of our Icon Comic Cons.
Yeah.
But that, Icon Comic Con is November the 1st of this year. It's located at the Fishkill Rec Center in Fishkill, New York. It's from 10 to
I've been to
4.
Fishkill. Nice
Yeah,
place.
it's a little different in the sense that it's a part of a gymnasium that you have a whole bunch of different comic book artists in. But I also have not only comic book artists, comic book vendors. I have the 501st Legion that stops by and comes and hangs out with us. I also have podcasters. So the Council of Comics is there. Izzyverse is usually there, and they're pretty adamant comic book creators. Some of them have won awards. So it's been great to have the capability of being able to see it actually come to fruition. And I get to pick up some good comic books while I'm there. So it's,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool there that way too. I get to shop. But thank you again. And everybody check out our episodes. First and foremost, make sure that you like and follow her page on social. We'll have all the links ready to go. By you supporting her page, she'll eventually have to get that tattoo, but she'll also get to have people enjoy the works that she does on a daily basis. It's great to see you and great to meet you. And on to the next one, everybody. So check us out on the next episode.